How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Perfect Reload Weekly, where we take a look back at the week in video game news. My name is Steve, and I am joined, as always, by our favorite dilapidated open box television possessed by a satanic entity, Christian Slater. Christian, how you doing this week, man?
You're a big man this week, leaving the house, wearing pants, claiming you're actually doing things. I used to do things. You do nothing. You are nothing. I'm famous. No one likes you. I need to lay down.
You, feeling all right there? You've been a little aggressive lately. Why don't you go call up one of your Hollywood pals and go out for a night on the town, play some Russian roulette. So yeah, this past week was definitely a little light on the video games for me. I really had no time to sink into video games. I played a little bit, so we got a little bit to talk to. But there also wasn't that much going on in the way of news either. So maybe a little bit shorter show this week. But yeah, starting a new job, it kind of forces you into being pretty busy. But we will prevail. The video games must be played. We're gonna start off with an older game, but one that's actually pretty relevant because the sequel is coming out this week. Sorry, my dog has just decided to wake up and needs all of the attention. And that's Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank is out later this week. And I remember when Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion came out, mostly because the name, was kind of attention grabbing, and I remember the headlines and stuff like that, but I never got around to playing it. But when I was, getting the release calendar ready and all this stuff, I saw that a sequel was coming out, and it kind of just made me think about it. And I was like, oh, why don't I pick it up? So I decided to pick it up and, played through. Apparently it's not very long. I looked it up. It's only a couple hours to finish. So I would imagine I'm probably like halfway through the game. It's great. It's fantastic. It's funny. It's well written. It plays nicely. A little bit of like puzzle solving mechanics in there. The opening section where you're tossing the bombs around inside that barn. The combat is pretty basic, but works. I like all the characters. I like the look of the game, the music. It's like a really nice, just well-made game that just completely flew under my radar. I mean, yes, I remember being aware of it, like I said, because of the name, but I don't think I ever remember anybody commenting on it besides like, oh, this is a funny name for a game or a funny concept for a game. I don't remember anybody at the time really talking about the actual game and playing it. So I feel like maybe just collectively it kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people. But obviously had enough of a following to warrant a sequel, and I'm very much looking forward to that sequel. And I think that with Turnip Boy Robs a Bank coming out this week and it being on Game Pass, I think it's going to get probably a very much larger audience than the first game did. I'm actually kind of surprised in a way that with this coming to Game Pass, they didn't toss the original up on Game Pass, but I guess it should actually look. I assume it came out on consoles, right? Yeah, it came out on everything at the time. Yeah. I'm playing the PC version. But yeah, I was kind of surprised. Yeah, it didn't come out to Game Pass. I figured that'd be like a good 1-2 punch to get people ready for the sequel. But I still think the sequel is going to do well. It looks pretty fun too. I watched a couple of the trailers. And we're going to have a video out. I believe the game comes out on Friday. So probably it'll be Saturday when that video comes out. If you haven't played the first one, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, it's like $5 on sale on Steam right now. I don't know how long that sale will last. I think it's $15 ish when it's not on sale, and I would say it's still certainly worth the $15. Plays kind of like a Zelda if you haven't played it, like a 2D, like a Link to the Past kind of Zelda. It's kind of single screen, and you have the exits to the map, and the cardinal directions and all that. And of course, there'll be times where you can't get through to a different place on the map. You kind of have to. It very much funnels you through. It's a linear game. There's a little bit of exploration, I guess, in the fact that there are, I guess you would call them side missions, side activities. Basically, you'll just kind of run into people in the world and they'll just ask you to kind of go and do something for them. And, it's not like this is a wide, expansive map, but it will take you to perhaps different parts of the map, to find these things. There's a guy that's like asking for lumber and stuff like that. And you have to go to a previously inaccessible part of the map to go and get it. So I mean, it's a very tight, self-contained experience, but yeah, it's a funny concept, obviously, but it's got the gameplay behind it to back it up, and I think that's that's the big draw. But Turnip Boy Robs a Bank coming out this week looks maybe a little bit more action packed. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out. But I am super excited for it. It's funny because for me, the big game to kick off the year is Prince of Persia, also coming out this week, and I'm still incredibly excited for that. But I am surprised how excited I am to play Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. Like, this is like, I'm like counting down the days until the end of the week when I can finally get around to playing it. So it's nice to start the year off like this. We're a couple weeks into January. And, stuff is coming out now. We had a little bit of a break there. I would say, the past 6 weeks, essentially. Avatar came out at the beginning of December, but, I didn't play it. So for me, it's been, Call of Duty? Something like that. It was like the last, like, super major release of the year last year that I played. So yeah, it's nice to get back into games. It's nice to, be looking forward to putting stuff up on the channel and covering stuff. And, you kind of don't realize that you miss, like, man, I kind of miss having these, like, at least one game a week coming out that was really interesting. It's just been a little bit of a downturn, which is understandable. It's the holidays, end of the year into the beginning of the year, makes total sense, but it's nice to get back into the swing of things. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check out Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. And like I said, we'll be covering the sequel here on the channel at the end of the
Between a game about tax evasion and another one about robbing banks, I feel like somebody owes Wesley Snipes some royalties.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong on that. But I guess we'll get into kind of the big release of the week, which is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. So the game comes out on Thursday. We'll have our video up Friday morning, taking a look at the game. And then last week, a demo came out. The demo was kind of like carefully selected areas of the game put together, so it wasn't just starting from scratch. It's kind of the way Sea of Stars did their demo last year. And the review embargo was up last week. The game is getting very good reviews. Most everybody that has covered it has covered it. Obviously, I don't get early access to stuff, so we'll wait until the game is actually released. But it's getting a lot of praise. And honestly, I debated whether or not I wanted to play the demo. I didn't know if I wanted to just go in completely fresh. On Thursday, what I typically do when a new release comes out, if I have time, I do like to play a little bit of it to familiarize myself with it, and then, record my video, usually starting from scratch, or sometimes I'll start, midway through a game, wherever my save file is and stuff like that. But more often than not, I don't have the time to do that, so we kind of just always start fresh. But I was like, well, if the demo is out and it's available to me, I might as well play it, and that way I have a better idea of, am I really going to enjoy this? Because like I said previously, Turnip Boy's coming out on Game Pass. This isn't, so this is the first gaming purchase. Well, I guess, we bought Buckshot Roulette, but that was $1. So this is the first, actual gaming purchase of the year. And I like what I played of it. I didn't want to play too much because I wanted to enjoy the the game proper when it comes out. I think I probably played like 45 minutes of it, something like that. Enough to get a handle on the basic, parry system, sliding behind enemies and stuff like that. A little bit of the traversal stuff. I think the controls at times, not clunky, but maybe a little unforgiving in certain aspects. But I also have to imagine the more you play the game, once you get into the actual retail release of the game, you're going to be unlocking new traversal mechanics and stuff like that. There's like a leveling up system in it where you can unlock these like, I think they call them amulets. I can't remember. There's a visual representation. You see like a necklace, and you see you're adding the charms or amulets to the necklace, and it gives you different buffs and things like that. So I imagine that's going to be a major part of the game. It is a Metroidvania style game, so there's like a big map system and all that stuff, and you run into a character that kind of explains all of that, and you can mark areas on the map. There's like a memory system kind of thing. They kind of throw a lot at you. I mean, I didn't feel overwhelmed. Some games really just dump a ton of stuff on you at the beginning, and some games, drip feed it out a little bit. It's tough to say if this game is doing that or not, because, they did say it was kind of carefully stitched together portions of the game. So I'm not quite sure, if that stuff is going to be super condensed at the beginning or maybe dripped out a little bit more. But there were times where I was like swinging around on a flagpole, and just the jump just didn't quite go in the direction, despite the fact that there is a directional indicator that you can adjust with the stick for where you want to jump, and sometimes it didn't go where I thought it was going to go. There are times where I felt like I should be able to make a jump, but you can't. I don't know if maybe that's something that unlocks, because you can do that classic kind of Prince of Persia thing where you jump into a wall jump off, that kind of thing. And there are times where it's just like, I feel like I should be going a little bit further off this wall jump. There's a thing right there that I could get to, but I guess maybe the game doesn't want me to get to it yet. Maybe I'll come back and I get a double wall jump or a double jump or something like that. So it's tough to say, especially in a Metroidvania style game. It's a lot of backtracking on the map, traditionally at least with that genre. A lot of backtracking on the map, using your new abilities to get to previously inaccessible points. And so I imagine that it's probably just a case of like, hey, you're just not supposed to be here yet. Hang on a little bit. We'll get you in a while. But the combat, I felt, was pretty good. I assume you're obviously going to unlock more abilities. You have a bow and arrow that you can use, and it does that pretty classic thing of, you pull to knock the bow, and you can see an arrow in like an arc, and you can kind of aim, while you're there. And then there's another attack that's also on the bow button. I'm not quite sure what it is. It looks like it's some type of disc that you throw, and it will eventually bounce back to you. And then you just can mash on, I was playing on Xbox, you can just mash on the X button, and you're doing your melee attacks and all that stuff. There's a parry system, a blocking system. You can also slide behind enemies and stuff like that. In terms of combat, I noticed there was probably, for the lower level enemies, 2 full cycles of your melee auto combo kind of thing will kill them. I'm a big proponent of, in games like this, for lower level enemies, get them killed quick and so you can move on. It felt fine-ish. I'm probably a little bit more, that stuff probably bothers me a little bit more than most people. Most people probably never have a complaint about that stuff, but it's just those little nitpicks I have with stuff like this. And that's just a personal preference, though, so it's not a knock against the game in any stretch. But I overall enjoyed it, and I am very much looking forward to digging in to the full game, because we do have, we have a somewhat, let's take a look at the schedule for this month. We have a somewhat busy month, because there's another game coming out this week too. So I mean, yeah, we have, where's my thing here? Yeah, we got like 4 games that I'm going to check out coming out this week. There's 5 games total, the last of which is The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster, which I'm not going to be playing. And then we're actually kind of done until next week, when Infinite Wealth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, comes out next Friday. So I imagine, this week I'll be obviously playing the stuff as it comes out, and then spending time over the next week. I would like to prioritize Prince of Persia and play as much as that as possible, before the end of the month. And then, February's got something for the most part every week. I think it's at least one thing every week. So, we're kind of getting into it. And then once we get into March, sorry for the weird edit, some technical difficulties there. I'm not sure quite where I left off, but yeah, we have a bunch of stuff for the first 3 months, but everything in March is pretty much out on the same day. So I think it's going to be, some really heavy hitters to start off the first quarter of the year. But I also think you're going to have a lot of time to actually be able to sink into to play this stuff. Last year was kind of just nonstop. Every single week there was something, and it was very difficult to really commit. You kind of had to pick and choose what you were going to play. But I think so far at the beginning of this year, unless all of a sudden a bunch of releases get announced, which I don't think they will, at least for the first 3 months, I think you're actually going to have some time to sit down and enjoy the stuff that you're picking up. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to jumping into Prince of Persia. And from what I hear with the reviews, it's a fairly lengthy game. I think somebody said like kind of about 25 hours to get through. I'll be honest, I don't know if I can get through 25 hours of a Metroidvania. So we'll see if this has the hooks to get me to actually finish it. But I don't know. That might be that might be a little bit tricky. And then yeah, the other thing that's coming out this week is Home Safety Network, or Home Safety Hotline, is apparently finally coming out. Just kind of all of a sudden, I got the little update on Steam because I had it on my wish list saying like, hey, this game is coming out tomorrow. And I was like, all right, well, I guess toss that on the schedule. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that as well. This is the first big week of the year. It's the first, we're back in it entirely. So yeah, it is exciting after a little bit of a lull for a while. Christian, you were hanging out while I was playing Prince of Persia. You got any thoughts on Prince of Persia? That's been around for a long time, and so have you. Have you ever got any experience with the Prince of Persia?
I spent a lot of time in Persian nightclubs back in the day. You do not want to try and burn off the mustache of the manager. They do not like it.
Yeah, I imagine they wouldn't. Fucking moron. So yeah, that's gonna do it for what I've been playing, and we'll be back in just a moment with the news. All right, we are back with the news, and we've got our first kind of industry event coming up. It's going to be this Thursday, and that is the Xbox and Bethesda Developer Direct for 2024. Last year's, if you remember, is where Hi-Fi Rush got announced and released that same night. I have no idea if they're going to do something like that this year, but they have announced what they are going to be talking about. So this is going to be taking place 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time on Thursday. We are going to get a look at selection of highly anticipated games coming to Game Pass, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. So the games we are going to see here is kind of their press release, and this is coming from Tom Ivan over at VGC. The Indiana Jones game, which apparently the title is leaked, and it's called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That was kind of going around the internet over the past week, but it says, we're going to get the Indiana Jones game. Machine Games, the award-winning studio behind the recent Wolfenstein series, will reveal their upcoming Indiana Jones game, an action-adventure that puts players in the leather jacket of the legendary archaeologist. Developer Direct will showcase more than 10 minutes of game and developer insights, including details about the game's setting and story, how fans will actually play as Indy. I assume that means, is this going to be first person or third person? And additional details from his next globe-trotting adventure and the premiere of the first gameplay trailer. The Indiana Jones stuff, the brand is a little bit tarnished right now because the last movie did not do well. I think a lot of people were just kind of, burnt out on Indiana Jones a little bit after the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, and people didn't like that. I think they probably would have preferred if the movie just kind of stayed with the original trilogy. I like Indiana Jones, but I'm not a diehard fan. I like the original 3. I did see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in theaters. I think I've maybe seen it one other time. Maybe I watched it when it came to rental or something like that. Or I know I have the Indiana Jones box set on DVD somewhere in a shelf in this house. But I don't think that actually has Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I think it's just the original 3 movies. So I know I for sure saw it in the theater. I don't know if I necessarily saw it again afterwards. I also kind of remember it being totally okay at the time. Like, yeah, some of it was stupid, but I don't remember like hating it as much as everybody else did. But that also might just be because, like I said, I'm not a big diehard fan. So I think they probably want to distance themselves from a little bit from that. But I think Machine Games makes good games. I don't know if I've played anything that they've done that wasn't Wolfenstein, but I also don't know if they've done anything that wasn't Wolfenstein. Yeah, they did that Quake game, and that's it. But everything else has been Wolfenstein. So I don't know if a first person Indiana Jones game makes sense. So I would imagine that this is going to be third person, because I think that was one of the things that Arcane wanted to get in front of when they announced Blade at the Game Awards. They were very quick to say this is a third person game, because they're obviously known for making first person games as well. Because I also don't think a first person Blade game would make a lot of sense either. So I'm curious to see what they have to do with this. Next up on the list, Avowed. The team at Obsidian will share the first deep dive into the gameplay experience fans can expect in Avowed, their upcoming fantasy action RPG set in the fantastical, vibrant, living lands. Learn more about how Obsidian's expertise in building worlds with deep themes, dynamic gameplay, and thoughtful reactivity come to life in Avowed, where players will have agency to make choices to shape every step of their adventure. I am a big Obsidian fan. I am eagerly anticipating The Outer Worlds 2. I was actually kind of surprised that Avowed is coming first. But I am eager to get into this. You know, this is kind of their take at Skyrim. I believe it has kind of come out in recent times that, you know, they took over Fallout for Fallout New Vegas from Bethesda, and there was the rumor going around that they were going to do some type of Elder Scrolls thing, and it just never kind of came together. So this is obviously their take on an Elder Scrolls fantastical kind of experience. But if you remember the trailer from the Xbox showcase last summer, there are firearms in this game. So it looks like it's definitely blending some stuff together, but I am looking forward to this. And it sounds like if this is going to be a deep dive, then maybe Avowed is kind of the star of the show in this thing. It also seems like this might be the most closely to be released thing aside from Hellblade 2. I imagine Hellblade 2 and Avowed are coming out this year, but we'll get to Hellblade 2 in a minute. But yeah, I am really looking forward to Avowed. I think I think it's looking like a pretty solid thing. I think Obsidian has a really good track record. I know some people were kind of down on the Outer Worlds, but I think the Outer Worlds is finally starting to come around. I've noticed a lot of people, I've been getting some recommended videos in my YouTube feed of like, hey, the Outer Worlds isn't as bad as you think, and let's revisit the Outer Worlds, and everybody's coming away with pretty positive impressions. I think that game is better than some people maybe choose to remember it. Next up is Aura History Untold. Hear from the leads at Oxide Games, a studio founded by veterans of the strategy genre and the creators behind classic strategy titles including Civilization V, one of my all-time favorites, as they unveil exclusive new gameplay and share more details about the inspiration, key features, and road ahead for their upcoming historical grand strategy game. I don't believe I am familiar with this title. I don't think this looks familiar. Aura History Untold. Interesting. Is this already out? No, it isn't. But why? It looks like there's a bunch. Oh, it looks like they have already had trailers out. Okay, I guess this just completely blew right by me. Let's fire this up real quick because I am a big Civ fan. I've actually been playing Civ 5 lately. Okay. So this is like modern times. I'm looking at this trailer. There's like soccer stadiums, and graphically this looks very nice. Okay, you are starting in the ancient past. Wow, this just looks like Civ. Is it? Oh, wow, the battles look really... I think this is just a twist on Civ. Fuck. Oh, man, now I am all of a sudden very excited. I love Civ games. Those are my favorite franchises of all times. My God, this looks fantastic. I'm going to be doing some digging into this later today. I'm going to be watching some videos on this. This looks really good because the last one of these was what, that Humankind game. I tried so hard to get into that, and it wasn't because it was bad. By no stretch was it a bad game, but it was one of those things where as I was playing it, I just kept thinking to myself, I think I'd kind of rather be playing Civ. There's just something about Civ. It's just Civ, they've been doing it for so long. It's just so well made. And I also think that there's a familiarity and a comfort level attached with that it makes it difficult to kind of branch out to try out new games in the genre, which is weird because, I played 9 million city builders. I have my favorites, but I'm still open to basically trying anyone that comes out on the market. But when it comes to these turn-based grand strategy games like a Civilization, I kind of just fixate on Civ. So maybe this will be one, especially because it's people that worked on Civ. Maybe this will kind of crack that open because I haven't heard word one on Civ 7. I don't know if anybody has. I don't follow that scene that much. I play the games when they come out and I enjoy them, but it's not like I'm not on like their subreddits or their message boards or, I'm not in the Civ scene, following updates on everything. So maybe Civ 7 is in the works, but I don't think it certainly hasn't been officially announced or anything, but I don't know, maybe this will be the year. And then last up is Senua's Saga Hellblade II. Ninja Theory takes us behind the scenes at their studio in Cambridge to give us some insight on how they are crafting Senua's Saga Hellblade II. The team will speak to the ambition and meticulous care involved in creating Senua's journey of survival. I would say Avowed and Hellblade 2 are probably the closest to release. They've been really pumping out a lot of Hellblade 2 marketing over the past year and a half. And we've seen gameplay of that game. I imagine that's coming out this year. I don't know if this will be like where we get a release date. That might be a little, maybe we get a release date. Or maybe they just wait until the summer in their showcase. But yeah, it's cool to get an update. It's nice to kind of have an industry thing to start the year off. And then also after that event is done, ZeniMax Online Studios will be doing an entire Elder Scrolls Online presentation that will be at 4 p.m. So this direct thing will only be an hour long because it's starting at 3 p.m. This other thing starting at 4 p.m. So not a massively, but still devoting that amount of time to 4 games, We're definitely going to get a good look at them. My plan right now, as it stands on Thursday, I will be home at 3 p.m. And I plan on, if I am home, we're going to live stream this. If for some reason I am unable to do that, I will just record my reaction. We'll put it up on the channel. But as of right now, the plan is to live stream it. But my schedule could change. As of right now, I am home during that time, and I should be able to do it. Let's move on here. We've got some more AI stuff going on. I know that's been a hot topic lately. But SAG-AFTRA has struck a deal for AI voice acting licensing in video games at CES 2024. This is coming from Carissa Bell over at Engadget. And she writes, SAG-AFTRA, the union representing thousands of performers, has struck a deal with an AI voice acting platform aimed at making it easier for actors to license their voice for use in video games. Under the deal, which was announced during a press event at CES 2024, SAG-AFTRA members will be able to work with replica studios to license their voice to game studios. Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the union's top negotiator, said that the agreement paves the way for professional voiceover artists to safely explore new employment opportunities for their digital voice replicas. The agreement comes as Hollywood is still grappling with the use of AI. Last year, SAG-AFTRA reached a deal with Hollywood studios that included AI protections following a months-long strike. As a result, studios are now required to pay actors and obtain their consent before using an AI-generated version of their likeness. Like I said, this is all coming from Carissa Bell over at Engadget. And there is a follow-up over on VGC from Jordan Midler that says SAG-AFTRA has claimed that 80% of members approved the terms, but some people are not necessarily super excited about this. Apex Legends voice actor Erika Ishii wrote, approved by who exactly? Was any one of the affected members who signed off on this a working voice actor? Elias, I can never pronounce his name. I apologize. He is a very famous voice actor. He did work on Starfield, Deus Ex. Elias Tufeus? I'm not sure if the X is silent in his name. He echoed these concerns, writing, I would humbly consider myself one of the top voice actors working in games. I don't think anybody would argue with that. And no one asked me about this. No one reached out for my opinion. So, and then here's a good quote from Xander Mobus. He's the announcer in Super Smash Brothers. Fucking who? Did any of y'all approve this? I ain't good told we were voting on this. SAG leadership, please, I'm begging you, stop showing your ass and do something to keep us working. You know, your job. You ain't licensors. You are a labor union. The hell y'all doing? Top-notch quote from Xander Mobus. So, yeah, it sounds like they said that 80% of people voted for this, but apparently that 20% that didn't weren't even aware of it, and they are the people that are actively working in the video game industry doing voiceover work. So, yeah, it's that's a bizarre one. I wish I had more insight into all of this. I followed the actor strike a little bit more closely. Just because I follow some like movie websites and stuff like that. And it just seems like this is it seems like to me, and this is my uneducated opinion on this, is that SAG-AFTRA went through this big strike last year in Hollywood. Took months to get it over and done with, right? And then this one here seems like, well, we just went through this tumultuous battle previously. Do we really want to be doing this again? Let's just wrap this up as soon as possible. That's what it kind of seems like to me. I hope that's not the case, and I hope all these people aren't getting screwed out of money and out of having their licensing or the license to their voice potentially being taken from them. It does seem like they do have to give consent and everything, but it just seems like, you know, people that are actively working in the industry weren't even aware of this. So it's a little strange. Maybe over the coming weeks we'll get a little bit more information on it. But yeah, it's I think this AI voice stuff, this AI acting stuff, this is going to be such a huge dominant news story probably for the rest of this year, if not longer. Despite having some of these deals struck, I don't think this is not the end of this. You know, AI technology is going to get more and more sophisticated, and they, you know, these deals, these agreements, you know, to end the strike and to sign a new contract, you know, these contracts expire, you know, so they have to renegotiate at some point in the future. I think was it 3 or 5 years or something like that for the film actors. You know, this is just going to happen again and again and again. So it's going to be really difficult because you're dealing with an industry, both for video games and for film, that are very greedy, very money hungry, very numbers driven, money driven. Despite being creative mediums, despite being art, you know, it is all financial at the end of the day. It all breaks down to numbers on a spreadsheet. And that's going to be a difficult thing for the people actually doing the work to fight up against. You know, how do you do that? So yeah, we are not done with this by a long shot. I imagine we are going to be hearing about this for months, if not, you know, the rest of the year and into next year. So yeah, not great. Christian, you're a working actor, sort of. You do things, I guess. You got any thoughts on this?
Breaking news! I have signed a deal that all AI must use my voice. The future is Slater.
Fantastic. It's like that. I saw this thing on Instagram. Late night Instagram scrolling. The question was posed: would you rather have all music be performed by Pitbull, or all music just be the same Pitbull song done by every other artist? And it's like, would you rather have the only television show or the only movie you can ever see again, Cuffs, or would you rather have the only actor you can ever see play every role be Christian Slater? I certainly would choose. I want to see Christian Slater be every role in a movie. That would be fantastic. I'm with you on that one, man. All right, so this one just kind of slipped by the cracks. This came out the day after I filmed it last week, because CES was going on. Nvidia has announced its next graphics cards, but it's not the 50 series. No, they're bringing back the Super series, the Super series. So coming out this month, and it's pretty soon because I think Best Buy already has their listings up. Starting at $599, we're going to be getting an RTX 40 Super, an RTX 4070 Ti Super, and an RTX 4070 Super. These are actually coming on the 17th. That's why the listings are coming up. So it's this week. The RTX 70 Super has 20% more cores than the RTX 4070, making it faster than a 3090 at a fraction of the power. The 4070 Ti Super that's coming out next week. It is $800. More cores than the 4070 Ti. A whole bunch of other shit. And then the big one, I guess, is the 4080 Super. This is coming out for $1,000. 1.4 times faster than the 3080 Ti without DLSS frame generation, or twice as fast if you are using it. It will replace the 4080, which was $1,200. So it is $200 less than the card that it is replacing. I did not jump to the 40 series. I am still using a 3080. I have yet to run, with the exception of Alan Wake 2, I have yet to run into a game that I have struggled to play at what I would consider an acceptable frame rate. That day will be coming. You know, I built this computer in 2021, I want to say. I think it was 2021 when I built this computer. So it's about to be 3 years old, because it was like the beginning of it was the beginning of the year when I got it, because at that time, you know, all the parts were really hard to find. You were having to join lotteries and whatnot to earn a chance to purchase one of these cards, or you were like me, and every Tuesday at 11 a.m. when Best Buy would refresh stock, you were feverishly trying to get stuff. That's how I ended up getting my 3080. And I haven't really wanted to upgrade because the new processors that are out, you know, I would probably stick with AMD. They're going to require me to get a new motherboard, so it's not going to be as simple as just plugging in a new graphics card. Now, I certainly could do that, but I also believe in the way this PC that I have is set up, and if I do want a new graphics card, I would also need a new power supply. So it's not just one purchase, it'd be multiple purchases. So am I going to have to build a new computer within the next few years? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm okay with skipping the 40 series. You know, I skipped the 20 series. I had a 1080. That 1080 lasted me a pretty long time. And so I'm okay with my 3080, and, you know, I'll look at getting if the price is right. The price has got to be good. You know, the 30 series card, I think, is probably the greatest deal of all time, because they were so affordable. They were really, really affordable for graphics cards. And you look at how much a 4090 was when it came out, it was almost $2,000. I mean, my God, you could build a high-end gaming PC for that much. You know, it's just too much. And so, you know, I'm okay with waiting, but if the 50 series card is that expensive, unless I absolutely need it because, you know, I got to cover games on this channel, I'm okay with sticking with what I got and just, you know, maybe leaning a little bit heavier on console gaming rather than PC gaming. So I don't know. I don't know if this is enough to get people to make the jump, because you have to imagine that maybe the end of this year they announce the 50 series cards. I think that most people that, if they haven't already jumped to the 40 series, they're probably like me, and they're probably just waiting for the 50 series. I don't think this is enough to sway those people. You know, certainly not for me. I have no need, desire, want, whatever, to go out and get one of these cards. But anyway, like I said, I'm also in a little bit of an odd situation where if I do need to get a new graphics card, it's going to be like also a total redo of the PC. I would like to keep as much out of this PC as I possibly can. I really enjoy this, but I also realize that these cards probably aren't going to fit in my case. I think a 4090, if I were to put it in my case, I did the math, it's only like 2 millimeters of clearance or something. It's like something insane. You know, I really like what I have right now. You're a good boy. This computer's a good boy, and he does well. And, you know, I'd like to keep him around for as long as possible. So, you know, we'll keep our eyes out for the 50 series card. I don't think this is quite doing it yet. All right. Last up this week is apparently we're getting a new PlayStation 5 controller. The V2 PS5 DualSense. It's going to have improved battery life. There have been listings popping up on retailers' website. It looked like the first of which was Walmart Canada. It will be the same price. This is in Canadian dollars, $89.99. What is a PS5 controller? $70? I've only bought one once. I replaced the one that came on my system. I replaced with a purple one. And I want to say that was $70. Yeah, they're $70. Oh, I guess maybe I paid $75. on GameStop's website, the colored controllers are $75. So it says this would be a significant improvement on the original controller, which includes a 1560 milliamp hour battery, lasts around 6 hours, and demanding titles which use all of its features. The triggers are what kills it. So that's honestly one of my biggest problems with the PS5 controller is how fast it dies. I don't think I even get 6 hours. I don't think I get 6 hours. I would say maybe 4. And I turn a lot of that stuff off. You know, the majority of what I've been playing on my PS5 for the past couple of months has been Call of Duty. I turn off vibration in Call of Duty. It doesn't have the trigger stuff. So I'm turning off features, and I still think I'm only getting 4, maybe 4.5 hours before I gotta charge it again. So going to 12 hours, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to have everything be like the the Wii U Pro controller. I think at the time I owned that thing, I charged it like 3 times, and I played the shit out of the Wii U. That thing had like an infinite battery, and it was fantastic. You know, PS5 controller, I have some issues with it. I do like a lot of the features on it. I like having those adaptive triggers. I think it does add to some things. There are times where I think the implementation is not done very well, but that's not on the controller. That's on the developer of the game and the features they choose to implement. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like the PlayStation 5 controller, more so than the PS4 or the PS3 or the PS2 or the PS1, they're all roughly the same design. There's something about it that my hands they cramp up a little bit if I'm playing it for too long. I just really like the Xbox controller. I've discovered that in life over the past several years. The Xbox controller is the controller for me. That's the one I like using the most. Now, if we can combine the two, and you could get the Xbox controller's form factor with those triggers, man, that would be fantastic. That would be great. But who knows if that's ever going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is a big jump. It's the exact same controller, just with a better battery life. That will actually sell. I think people will run out and buy that. As long as they, you know, I think the smart thing, and I don't understand why they wouldn't do this, but I can also see Sony completely failing to capitalize on this, is that if this is going to be what they're doing, then they need to just stop manufacturing the old controller. I don't know why you would at this point, especially if it's going to be the same price point. And you immediately need to get all the same colors. You know, if I know there's some special edition PS5 controllers, you don't need to do that. But the blue, the purple, you know, the ones that match the face plates and all that stuff that you can, or the side plates you can put on a PS5, make sure that you have all those ready to go on day one. You know, you're shipping them to the stores. They have all the different colors. You know, I would probably go out and get rid of my purple one and buy a new purple, longer battery life controller. Absolutely. Why not? You know, I buy a new Xbox controller all the time, get rid of the previous one just because I think the colors are pretty. So, you know, I'm certainly not adverse to buying controllers for less practical reasons than this one. But yeah, that's going to pretty much wrap things up. You know, just shorter show this week. There wasn't a ton of news, and I also just didn't have time to play games, but we are into it. So let's talk about what's coming out on the channel. I actually made a handy dandy calendar for myself. So this show is today. On Wednesday, we will have the Home Safety Network, or Home Safety Hotline video. As far as I know, it is coming out tomorrow. I still think it's one of those weird things that doesn't have a price yet. Yeah, I'm looking at the Steam listing. It still does not have a price set, but it says planned release date January 16th. So I'm hoping that it does come out. It's one of my most anticipated games. I absolutely loved playing it before. If you want an idea of what it is, just dig back on the channel. I have a video showcasing the demo that came out during one of the Steam Next Fest last year. Thursday, as long as my schedule holds the same, we will be streaming the Xbox Developer Conference in the afternoon. Later that day, I'll be recording my Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown video that will be up on Friday. On Friday, I'll be recording my Turnip Boy Robs a Bank video that will be up on Saturday. Next week is going to be a big week. So next Monday, a week from today, is the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. I don't think I have anything special planned. Maybe I'll come up with something. But that is happening next Monday. And then next Wednesday, it's coming out, guys. the next animated video, the first video game sludge video of the year, is coming out on Wednesday, January 24th. It is done. I have it finally finished and edited. I didn't want to put it up this week just because we have so many videos coming out. I didn't want it to get lost in the shuffle. So it is coming out next week, next Wednesday. I'll give you a little tidbit of what it's about. It's about the 47th anniversary of a particular video game console, and we are going to meet some fun characters along the way. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And then just to wrap up next week, the end of next week will be most likely a Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth video. Should be. That's the plan right now. And we also have later at the end of the month another episode of Full Motion Sickness coming out. So a loaded January, a loaded rest of the month here on Perfect Reload. It's going to be fun times, so be on the lookout for all of that stuff coming up. But before we get out of here, Christian, do you have anything you want to add before we let these fine folks get on with their day?
You know, the 1-year anniversary of this show is next week. You better have gotten me a damn good present because I have done so much for you, you would be nothing without me.
Yes. We'll see you next week.